Hello everyone and welcome to the 6th episode of the DevConnect show. Today our guest is from Toronto, Canada. He is a senior consultant working for Hitachi. He is a fitness freak and recently took on calisthenics. He is here to talk about his new tool called PowerApps Portal Controls Packager Solution. So let's welcome Shaminder Singh. Hey Shaminder, welcome to the DevConnect show.
Hi, Danesh. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good also. Yeah, thanks.
Nice. Um, so you're into fitness. So I wanted to
Uh-huh.
ask you a question, and this is like most of the technology, like people in the technology are having a
Uh-huh.
job that we have to sit down and then write
Right.
code. We are like I myself have tried to go to some gym, try to get enrolled into some cross body or
Uh-huh.
CrossFit or something, right? But I can't keep up. And you are into fitness, so what would your advice be for all of us in technology sector?
Right. So, I'll tell you the story how I started this fitness journey, right, and how I opted it as part of my lifestyle, right? Because when you have a goal in your mind, then it's easier for you to determine, okay, this will work for me and this will not work for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was always a skinny kind of a guy, right? And then in the third year of my college, I started to take my health seriously, right? So I thought, okay, it's a high time that I should start looking at my body also and do something which actually makes me more healthy, right? So that's where I took a membership of a gym and then I started going there. And initially it was a pain, as you mentioned, right? It's always when you start, it's always difficult to keep up with the things, right? And when I started the gym, right, I was always overwhelmed with the people lifting so much of weight and right.
Yeah.
So that was always a thing with me also. But then slowly I started seeing the results and it actually motivated me, right? And then yeah, I from there I developed an interest into it and I have been regular, right? I spend around an hour daily in terms of doing some exercise. Right now, it's due to COVID. I think all the gyms are closed, but still, I managed to do calisthenics and a bit of body weight exercises. So, if you want to work just, I mean, if you want to work towards fitness, identify your goal, right? Whether your goal is to lose weight or whether your goal is to gain weight. And then based on that, you can design two things. One is your diet factor and the other one is your exercise quotient, right? So, I mean, based on your goals, these two things will differ accordingly. So, I mean, yeah, that's my advice. Come up with a goal first, and then based on the goal, formulate a plan, and then stick to that plan. That's it. And once you start seeing the results, then you'll obviously tend to follow that schedule because it works for you, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
results are in front of you, and it's on their body. It's on your body itself,
Yeah. And then as
right?
soon as you see those progress, then you feel motivated as well, right?
Right. Right,
Yeah.
right. And a good thing about going gym is right, you see all those people around you, right? And I've seen everybody is so welcoming, right? Even if you do something wrong, they'll come, right? And they'll guide you. Okay, this is not how it needs to be done. This you should
Mm-hmm.
correct your form, you should correct your posture, right? So you can keep all those thoughts away and just focus on doing something for yourself, for your body. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Probably you have been to good gyms. Some gyms I have been to, they're like, do whatever you want to do. We don't care. But yeah,
Right.
we'll have to look
Right.
for
I'm
those kind
fortunate
of.
enough, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough
Yeah.
to have good people, right, who were always there for me and they guided me well, right? And one other thing is that my younger brother, he's into calisthenics, right? So a lot of these exercises he do, so I try to learn it from him. For example, he's a master of handstand. He can do backflips, forward flips, all that cool stuff, right? Wheelie and all that stuff. So when the gym's closed, I asked him, okay, now I can't go to gym, so how do I keep up with my fitness? And that's where he gave
Right.
me this idea. Okay, start with calisthenics. So yeah, now I'm able to hold my handstand. I think for about 10 to 20 seconds. But yeah, by the end of this year, my goal is to increase it to at least 40 to 50 seconds. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So good that you brought up calisthenics because that is something that I wanted to ask. But before I
Okay.
ask anything about calisthenics, let me
Uh
just
huh.
show the viewers what calisthenics actually means. So let me
Right.
just share my screen here. And so this is how calisthenics look like. So next time when Shaminder's name will come up, I'm gonna visualize him being one of this person. Let's go back to Shaminder. And Shaminder, can you tell us like what this calisthenic is all about?
Right. So basically, there are two ways of doing exercise. One is you use external weights, right? That's where we go to gym. The second way is using your own weight to build some resistance so that you can train your muscles. So that's what calisthenics is all about. So you put pressure on yourself in such a way that your body exercise is putting all that pressure on your appropriate muscles. For example, if you want to put pressure on your shoulders, you would do handstand, right? And if you want to do chest exercises, right? So there are equivalent forms and other postures available in calisthenics, which don't require use of extra weight. So the idea is you use you use your body itself and you adjust it and you form postures which target specific muscles, and then and then you complete your workout doing so.
So you have been training for calisthenics now.
So I am not into calisthenics fully. So I just started doing it when the gyms closed because I wasn't having any other alternative. That's where I started exploring calisthenics, and handstand is something which I'm doing frequently nowadays. So I'm not able to master it yet, but yeah, I'm able to hold up to 20 seconds, 10 to 20 seconds of handstand.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Handstand like hanging or
No, no,
on
no,
your
no. You need to stand on your
on the
hands, right?
floor
Right.
or
On the
on the
floor itself,
floor.
and your body is vertically,
Ah,
right? Yeah, it's in
cool,
the upright
man. Cool.
position. Yeah,
Wow.
right, right.
That's I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, I'm not gonna even try.
It's easy. It looks scary, but when you try, right, you can take some. You can use wall as your help, right, and then you can
Right.
start slowly doing it. And once you gain the confidence, then you can start coming right,
Yeah.
coming ahead, and
Yeah.
then yeah,
I
slowly bring it.
remember in when we were young, in India used to do this. What is called shavasana, where you put your
Shavasana,
head down and then just be upside down with on but on your
right,
head, not on your hand,
right,
and you just
right,
use your hands for support,
uh,
but you are all upside down. It's kind of similar, right?
right,
Yeah.
right, right,
Cool,
right.
cool. Well, now let's talk about Power Platform and how did you get into Power Platform? When did you start?
I So I basically started in 2014. So I completed my engineering in electronics engineering, and but I was placed in an IT company. So I had a very limited idea about programming, and all I could do is write some C++ programs and inject them into 8085 microprocessor. And I was completely unaware of the cool web technologies that we have these days, right?
Yeah.
And so, but luckily I got placed into an IT company, and they trained me well. I got a good hands-on experience on C Sharp, relational databases, and then ASP.NET. And back in those days, binding a grid control was a big victory for me in ASP.NET, right? So once I completed my training, I was assigned to Microsoft Business Unit account, and they were actually working on Microsoft Dynamics CRM, 2013 and 2015 versions at that time. So I was introduced to Dynamics world, and slowly I started learning the concepts, and that's where my journey started into the Dynamics world, and which slowly transitioned into Power Platform and Power Platform portals also. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So now you're working with portals, and how long have you been working with portals?
So I joined Hitachi Solutions India in 2018, and that's when I started working with portals. My first project was on D365 portals, which is Power Apps portal now. So yeah, that was when I started working on portals.
Hmm. Okay, cool. And so now, what made you like think about you need this
Uh-huh.
kind of tool that we're going to talk about today? Why did you
Right.
needed that tool? Why did you? How did you come up with that idea?
So I had this idea right from the starting itself, right? So when I started developing the portal, and thanks to the requirements that I got, there was a lot of custom dev which I had to do at that point. And one of the frequent requirement was to fetch data on multiple web pages, right? And in portal, the way to do so is you can either do it in your liquid tag, right? Or you need to enable anonymous feeds on entity list. But if you enable entity list feeds, right, then it becomes anonymous. So it's no longer secured. So that idea is rarely used. So you're left with the option of writing liquid tags. And in using liquid tags, you again have two options. You can either use the liquid tag in the web page itself, but that works only if you require the data on onload event. But let's say if you have a requirement where there is a dependent field, right, and there is an on change handler you want to attach that, okay, on change of this field, I want to grab some data, related data based on the value that the user selected. So what we have to do is we need to create a separate web template of type application/JSON, and then create it as a web page which acts as a REST interface. And you call that endpoint whenever that event is invoked on your client side. So I found this process a bit lengthy, right? Because there are a lot of web templates that I had to create just for my data needs. So I came up with this idea of creating one single web template, wherein I can just pass my fetch XML, just like how Dynamics Web API do, right? It has a get interface wherein we can pass fetch XML in the query string, and then we get the results back. So yeah, that's where I got this idea. Okay, I need to build something like this, which is easy to use, and I can focus more on my components rather than focusing on how to get data. So that's how this thought process started. And actually, I had it already built last year. So there was one D365 Saturday. My friend Arpish Srivastav, he's a Portals MVP now,
Right.
so he kind of invited me there. So yeah, I showcased this concept there also, but yeah, I was always lacking that motivation to pack this up and release it. So this year I got some time, so that's where I packaged this all together, and I'm working on packaging my other tools also. So data service being the fundamental thing for my other control, so that's why I released it first.
Oh, okay. So let's see what this tool is all about. So if you
Sure.
want to share your screen, we can.
Right. Yeah. Okay, can you see?
Yep, you can.
Right. So this is my solution which I've released on GitHub, and as of now it has two releases. The first release is just of data service, which will basically expose a REST endpoint on Power Apps portal, and it can take any fetch XML and return the results. The second release, which I did 2 weeks back, it has a data service console also, which gives an easier way to test the data component. So I'll show you both of these. The first one is data service tool. We just need to take the solution, install it in our Power Apps environment, and once we have it installed, in the solutions area, you'll see this button SPS controls, and this is where we can install it. So if we have multiple portals, those portals would be listed here. So right now I only have customer self-service, so I'll select this, and since I already have it installed, it's indicating me that it's already installed. But yeah, so if it's a first time installation, we'll see an install button, which will create the required data endpoint for us. So once we have it installed, the next step is to actually link this file. So this is a file which contains an abstraction of the objects that connect with this data service under the hood, right? So my suggestion or my advice is to add this reference in the header web template so that it becomes available across all the portal web pages. Just like in Dynamics, we have XRM, right? Or form context natively available. Right. So once we have injected this into our header web template, then yeah, we can execute any fetch XML on portals, and all we need to do is just call this execute fetch function from the SPS controls object. So I already have a portal with me. So let me just grab this example here and run it on console. Right. Yeah. So I've just printed the output on the console window itself, right? So yeah, I mean, the idea is that we'll get the data, and then we are free to use this data as per our need, right? It could be any form enable rules. It could be used in any of the form enable rules, or even if we want to build any custom component where we require data, we can use this same object to execute the fetch XML, and then the promise would give us the data back.
But
so this is the
go ahead.
Right. So no, I was just going to say, so this is the first part where we actually get the data back, and I was going to show the data service console. But if we have any questions, yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah. So how does this differ from what the Power Platform API has been exposed, the new APIs that came in? So how does that versus this is relating?
Right. Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that. So I actually forgot that point. So the new web API that Microsoft has released, it only has create update and delete endpoint. It doesn't give you a get endpoint. So you don't actually have a way in the Power App Portal web API to fetch the data. You can only do create operation, update operation, and delete operation. And yeah, I'm not sure whether Microsoft is planning to add the get endpoint, and I hope if they add it, right, so this would make things more easier. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Right. So this is how we'll get the data back. So in order to set up this data service, all it needs is the installation and then just adding the hyperlink of that script tag. The next part is data service console. And in order to set up the data service console, there's one additional step apart from what we did. That is that on portal, right? If you are in your development environment, you may have certain administrators or certain users who just do the development on portal. So the idea is those users need to be given this special role, SPS_CMS administrator, so that they can start using the data service console on portal, because the idea is that we don't want the end users of the portal to actually go into that console and interact with it. So that's where I've added this layer of a separate web role. And once we have added that web role to our portal user, the next step is now we can go to our portal and just take this URL and append. Right. So this is my data service console. And here what we can do is we can provide any fetch XML and it will run the data service and show the results over here. So I already have 3 fetch XML queries with me. I'll just show you that. So the first one is a very simple query. It doesn't have any filter. And this fetch is executed under the context of the logged in user. So if I run it now, right, it will just show me the result. And it becomes handy, right, when we are testing our entity permissions. Because on portals, the entity permissions are something different than the dynamics roles, security roles, right? So you need to configure these permissions separately. And I found it easier for me to just come here and execute my fetch XML and see, okay, this is the data that I'll get back. And in case anything is missing, I can always go back to my entity permissions and then troubleshoot it.
So yeah, so this particular the space where you have entered the fetch, I can also see there's a mini map available. Is this the Monaco editor that you have embedded here? Okay, that's cool. I want to dig into that Monaco editor because I was trying to use that not on web, but I wanted to use it on Windows application, and I was trying to dig into it like it was maybe 1.5, maybe 2 years back when I actually started with the PCF builder. And that time Monaco was, I think so, it was just coming up and it was not really matured. So I haven't looked into Monaco editor since then. But yeah, this is really fantastic where you can actually see the fetch XML been formatted nicely. You can see the minimap. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And then what does the generate code does over there?
Right, I'll talk about it at the end.
Okay,
so I have few other things I want to run. Yeah.
No worries. I'm just
okay. So right. So one other thing on the portal is, right, apart from the normal fetch XML, portal has its own liquid object, so which can give you particular data that you ask from that object. For example, user object is which will give you the information about the logged in users context, right? And so this data service console, it supports those liquid objects, and we can inject those objects as part of our filter conditions. So here in this fetch XML, basically I'm bringing all the cases which are related to the account, where the account is my logged in user's account. So yeah, it just narrows down the result, and now we can see that I've got the cases which are actually tied to my account.
But then does it provide any intelligence, or you have to know all these objects as you do? Like whenever you're writing JavaScript, you have to know all these objects, right? And then you have to go and look at the documentation, what those objects are, what the properties on those objects are. So does this particular interface provides any kind of intelligence, or you still have to do that?
As of now, it doesn't provide intelligence, but yeah, working on that. Yeah, I'm working on that so that you don't have to remember the syntax. So the final facet that I have with me is just a link entity, right? It's just doing the same thing. It's along with bringing the case detail, it's bringing the related account number, and primary contact ID. So just want to show that this works with link entity also,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Nice.
Yeah, we, we got that. And the way I have structured here is if the attribute is of type composite, it will give you the additional metadata here itself. For example, this is a pick list. So we got the value and then the label. And
Mm-hmm.
similarly here, the lookup, we got the ID and then we got the value.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Tanish. And right, so you asked me about this generate code. So
Right.
this function is basically, let's say now I have tested my fetch XML, right? And I want to use this fetch XML on one of my web page and build something and basically utilize it in my code. So this generate code will actually generate a JavaScript file which will contain all the code that we just saw in our previous data service
Mm-hmm.
demo, which we did console. So you don't have to write that; it will generate that code for you. And I actually have a fetch XML which I wanted to execute with you. So this fetch XML basically brings me all the accounts that are under my hierarchy,
Mm-hmm.
basically all, right? So I am the parent account and all the accounts that are underneath me. I wanted to bring all these accounts. And then if I want to build a custom web page on portal using the data from this uh, query, all I need to do is, so this is the data, right? This is the account name and description. So let's say we want to build a control where we want to list down all the accounts with their description,
Mm-hmm.
right? Can do is we can just click generate code, and then this will generate this JavaScript file. We just open it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the base code is already pre-written for us. So all we need to do now is just consume this data as per we need it. So let's say let me just remove these comments because these are just for us here, and let me just create something. Okay, so I have the data. So what I want to do is I want to use this data to form a list on portal. So all I need to do here is I'll just hit quick markup. And in the heading, I'll just print.
You remember all the class names and everything? That's cool.
Right, these are the bootstrap classes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
These
yeah.
are
I
the
don't I
bootstrap.
don't usually remember this. I like, okay,
Okay.
go do inspect items, look at the class names and just copy them. That's what I do. But yeah,
Okay.
it's cool to remember all these names.
Since
This
I'm working
this
with Portal Stories,
yeah, exactly. That's what
uh,
I was gonna say. That this shows that how much you have worked on portals. Because I
okay,
have,
because in our, uh-huh.
yeah, I have very limited like I have worked on portals, but in like maybe two or three projects, not many. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, right. So yeah, I just injected this small markup here. So what we'll do is we'll push this into. Okay, yeah, so that's all I need to do. I got my data, and then I use that data to build a markup. I'll just get rid of this extra comment here, and then we can just embed this into our web template on portal, and I'll just add that on.
So execute fetch is your function. That would be
Right, execute fetch. Yeah, execute fetch is my function, and then we can just take code and put it into our liquid. So I already have this console here, and then let's take it, and this is the page where I want to insert it. Yeah, that. Yeah, so that's
nice.
a quick markup, right? So I mean, the easier part is, right, we can forget about how data is coming, right? We can focus more on how we have to build our controls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like focus on designing. Don't worry about the data
Correct.
that's been retrieved. So
Right.
this,
Right.
yeah, this is really good. I mean, I can see that I can see myself using this because now I don't have to worry about how I should be fetching data. Uh, but so now using that console and using that what's the other thing called, the
Data service.
data service, right? How do I get all this access in my instance?
Right. So the first step is install this managed solution, right, into our Power Apps environment. And once we have it installed, go to this classic area. There you will notice this button SPS control. It will appear, right? And from here, we just need to install it. So in order to use our data service, this is the first step. And the second step is to hook this file as a reference in your header template. That's it. And then we can start using it across any of the portal page. We don't have to do any other extra steps.
Mm-hmm.
But if we want to use the data service console, then there's one additional step of adding this web role on the portal user who wants to access the console. For example, right now I'm logged in with Shaminder Singh user, right? So I've added this web role called SPS underscore CMS administrator, and then we can directly navigate to this page underscore SPS tools, and we'll see this console here.
Mm-hmm. So if you go back to the solutions area,
Sure.
not actually the SPS control page. The only question that I have is what are we actually installing on this package? Like Portal Data Service, the one that is right now already installed, but we already installed the solution. So what extra things
Right.
is getting installed?
Right. Yeah. So that's a good question. So the solution just contains the dynamics components. It doesn't contain the portal components. So when you click install, what it does is, because on portal everything is data, right? So it creates those data records with right sets of code so that the things work as they need to work.
So like your web role will be installed on that particular website,
Right.
and
Correct.
templates will be created,
Templates.
web templates
Correct.
and
Web
web pages
templates will
might
be
be getting
created.
created.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. You're
awesome.
right.
Okay. And then if you have multiple websites, then you'll have to do it on each website,
That's
this installation, right? So that
exactly.
every record will be created for that particular websites.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
correct.
All right. Cool. That's great. Anything
Yeah.
else in the package that we want to look at? Like, okay, let me ask this. Now, let's say if I'm having issue with this, how do I report any errors or any issues? Or if I have any, let's say I have an idea, I can say,
Uh-huh.
IntelliSense. I want to see IntelliSense on that console. So if that kind of enhancements or ideas I have, how do I report it to you?
On my GitHub. So you're always welcome to come to this GitHub and then report any issues or ideas you have. Yeah.
Okay, so everything goes through the GitHub's issue tab,
Right.
and you'll be
Right.
tracking it over there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and then what's in the release on the GitHub? Those two releases that you just showed,
Right.
we don't need those, right? Because we are just going to install the managed package that is already available on the GitHub on the code
Right.
area. We just have to install that. We don't have to. Do we have to look into this?
So if we are installing it, I mean, you may not want data service console. You may only want data service,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's where I have segregated those components, because in my main branch you will always see the full solution. But if you just want to cherry pick that, I just want to use data service, I don't want to use data service, and so you can use this release. This will only give you data service. And if you want to use both of these, you can take it from main branch or you can take it from this portal data service. And so it's my way of segregating the releases that I am doing. And since I'm adding more components to it, and those components may not be required by the end users, right? So they may just need a part of it. So I'm giving an option over here to choose what you want. You can take it.
But I don't see the actual zip file. The only thing that I see is the source code and the source code zip
Right,
file.
right. Yeah. So if you unzip the source code zip file, you'll actually see that
Oh, it's a managed.
solution here.
Oh, okay,
Right.
I see.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Anything else that you wanna show in your tool?
So for data service, this is the only thing that I have designed so far, but I'm working on my other tools also. So I can show you a preview of that.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not here.
we like previews.
Okay. So let me just, this is my solution over here.
So now we are looking at something that is not released yet, but something
Right,
is that's gonna come down the line. So this is
right,
the private preview that we would be getting of your upcoming tool, right?
right. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. So right now on portal, you just see this package, but once I release this, you'll actually see the lookup controls also. So the idea over here is, on portals right now, you don't have a way to specify your pre-filter on your lookups. But in Dynamics, you can do so, right? You have that
Right.
very well developed client API, which gives you the methods where you can just input here custom filters. But on portal, you don't have. So this control will basically provide a way wherein you can provide your fetch filters here, and then you can actually visualize how that control would look like on portal. So this preview will basically tell you, okay, so this is just a test data because it's still under development. But yeah, so this preview mode will show, okay, so this is how my lookup would show. And then I am giving few CMS options here also. For example, let's say I want my city column to come as first, right? So what I can do is I can just click on this and swap these, right? So it will be just that easy. And if I want to change the display names of my headers, I can click on that, and I can actually design my grid over here, right? Without doing any code. And then I can kind of handle the page sizes also, right? So these are the two. And if I want to change the design, right? So this is the default layout of how grids are shown. So if I don't like this style, I can always put my custom style here. For example, okay, I want background color of this, I want text color of white, and then I want my hyperlinks to appear uh, as this, and I want to apply border also, and the border color should be this. I can do this and save it, right? So you can design your grid in that way.
Nice.
And then the idea is it'll have a save option here, and then it'll auto embed everything where that thing needs to be placed, right? So you just need to specify your entity form, and then everything would be done automatically for you, and you just need to open your entity form on portal, and this would already be hooked up. Yeah.
Wow, that's really nice. And then the CSS and the JavaScript option that we are seeing, that would be just so that you can look at the code, and if you want to do any modifications to the code, then you can do that. Wow.
Yes.
Oh, this is really great. I'm excited to see when you would release this. Any plans on any date that you have in mind? You can release it?
So I'm thinking it will still take a month more for me to finalize the stuff here.
Yeah.
So it may come in mid-August, something like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I look forward for that announcement on your LinkedIn.
So yeah, thanks for it.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanna showcase us? Any other private previews that you wanna showcase us?
Look, there are other things also, but I'll keep them private.
Oh wow!
I won't kill the excitement.
Oh,
So yeah,
you are just rolling. I really like how you have placed all these controls over here. So when you did this, like
huh?
this particular page, Power Apps portal controls that you put in here, were you
Huh?
already thinking that you're gonna release multiple controls, and then that's why you wanna have
Right,
this installed packages pages so that you have that ability to add more controls to it?
right. So as I told in the starting of our conversation, right? So I gave one session last year. So I already had these controls built, but in a PCS, and they were living in model-driven apps. So I was creating those configurations using that PCS from my model-driven app, and then now what I thought is, okay, that's not a good that because it doesn't give me an option to let the users preview it. So I kind of dropped that idea, and I'm just modifying my packages and making them compatible with the look and feel of both. But yeah, answering your question, I already knew what I need to enter. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had that map with me.
Wow. Great. Yeah. Awesome. By the way, you're missing a space between power apps. So now there's a space, right?
Oh
Power
yeah, thanks for
space
pointing that
apps.
out.
That issue, that's an issue created on
That's a
GitHub.
good issue, right? That's the first good issue that you created. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, uh, well, thank you, Shaminder, for showing us this nice controls, and now I'm gonna try my hands on, see how it works, and yeah, I might have some enhancements. The one thing that I'm gonna look at is, have you? Okay, so this is another question that I forgot to ask. Have you released the code that you have used to build this, or is it just the managed solution that you have released on GitHub?
It's just the managed solution as of now. I haven't released my code yet. Yeah, I'm planning to do so, but yeah, it will still take time for me to, uh, yeah, kind of clean that up. There's a lot of clutter in the code, and I want to clean the things up before I publish
Yeah.
it openly.
Okay. Yeah, because sometimes you might wanna release it so that others can contribute to it as well. But it's also, I have a hidden agenda. Is I want to look at that Monaco editor that how you have
Yeah.
used it.
Okay.
So I have a hidden agenda in looking at how you have done that. So whenever you release it, let me know, and then I'll give it a try myself.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
awesome.
definitely.
Well, it was good to have you on the show, and thanks again for showing us this nice controls.
And thanks to you for having me here. Yeah, it's a pleasure talking to you, Danish. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Good. If you're working with Power Apps Portal, then I would recommend you to go and check out Shaminder's tool on GitHub. If you like his tool, then hit the star button on the repo. To connect with Shaminder on social media, I've provided the links in the video's description below. I've also provided the link to his GitHub repo as well. Don't forget to follow me on social media and hit the like button on this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more content. See you in the next episode of the DevConnect show.